This week on People, Passion, Power, we've got the voice of the Washington Nationals, Dave Jageler. You know, we talk about Game 7 of the World Series, and how could we forget Game 5 of the NLDS?
Here we are, top of the 10th inning, bases loaded, 2-2 ball game, Game 5 National League Championship National League Division Series. Joe Kelly on the mound in a tough situation. Martin digs in from the right side. He's been a clutch hitter all season. Here's the set and the one-strike pitch. Swinging a long drive, deep center field. Bellinger going back to the track, to the wall. It is gone. A grand slam for Jason Martin. And the Nationals take a 6-2 lead here in Game 5 of the National League Division Series. They're going crazy in the Nationals dugout. Do you believe it?
Just people, passion, power. Yeah, people. Got the people.
All right, super excited to welcome our guest to People, Passion, Power today. One of the voices of the Washington Nationals, Mr. Dave Jageler. What's happening, Dave? Thanks for coming on the show.
Hey, Jason, good to be on with you. Just, I'm calling this our unscheduled season of silence. Charlie and I always joke about that. We're on the radio like every day for 3 hours, then we go away. So we don't even talk. We call it our season of silence. This, unfortunately, is an unscheduled season of silence. We should be talking right now, but good to come out of the cocoon and talk for a few minutes.
Yeah, well, that's great. Well, listen, I teed up a song for you. I'm not sure if you're going to know the song. We'll see if you recognize this song. We're going to have a little bit of fun on the show today. Let's see if we can do this. Hold on 1 second. Do you recognize the song?
It starts like this, and it goes like this.
Yeah, that's it. That's it. You got it, man.
I've heard that. That's kind of the anthem, right? The anthem for 2019?
Yeah, I was wondering. I was like, I don't think I could get away with doing this interview without dropping the Baby Shark song in on us.
Yeah.
And, had to do it.
And it's amazing how that took off. And I kind of remember the first couple times we heard it. Sometimes you focus in on the noises of the ballpark. And Parra came up for an at-bat in June when he changed the song. And I said to Charlie, did he just play Baby Shark for his walk-up music? And then within like 2 at-bats, the crowd started to get into it, and it just kept growing and growing and growing. And the first handful of games where he used that song, it seemed like every time they played that song, he got a big hit, or the other team would make an error. It almost became like a rallying cry for the team. And it was amazing how it just took off. And we would, in the middle of our broadcast, we would stop what we were saying, and our engineer would bring up the PA feed. And so we'd play the Baby Shark on our broadcast whenever it was played. And then occasionally, if the other team took a mound visit, you'd get grandma, grandpa, uncle, sister-in-law. They'd go through the 19 verses of the song if there was a mound visit, and we'd hear the whole darn thing.
Yeah, it's amazing how it took off. I will tell you, though, I didn't mind just a couple of months of a break of the song, and now I'm ready to hear it again because I'm missing baseball, which I'm sure you are too, pretty dramatically.
Yeah, I mean, I'd settle for anything, right? I'd settle for some rain delays. As much as I would curse every rain delay where I've sat through a bunch of them in 14 years at Nationals Park, I look up at that first base light standard to see if I can see the raindrops. I spend half my life in baseball season looking for those raindrops. I'd take that right now. I need a rain delay. I need something.
When do you, well, let me ask you, when do you think we'll have baseball? When?
Well, I mean, I think that, I'm kind of like following along with what everyone else is saying, and the league and the union trying to come up with a plan. And it sounds like the league proposal is to start a season in early July. And I think you look at, what's the accurate number of games to make it a representative or competitive regular season. I don't have the answer to that, but I think they're shooting for about half a season, 75, 80 games in that range. And to be able to get that in the calendar, you do need to probably get that started in the month of July, and then you play that 3-month season, and then it looks like they're going to try to do an extended postseason instead of the normal 5 teams per league, 10-team postseason. It sounds like they want to do a 14-team postseason. So you're talking about expanded postseason and almost like a tournament, which will take some additional time. So believe me, whatever form it takes, I'm looking forward to seeing anything on the field and the chance to talk about it on the radio.
Very good. So listen, we all know you had the best seat in the house for the World Series run. So, and I know you've relived it a bunch of times. By the way, do you get up in the morning and play Game 7, your call of Game 7? Do you start your day with like, yeah, let me relive that this morning? I think I would have to if I were you.
Well, I mean, that one and the other one that for me I really cherish was the Howie Kendrick home run in Dodger Stadium, the grand slam, which was in the 10th inning.
Yep.
Kelly's one-strike pitch. Swinging a fly ball, center field deep. Bellinger going back to the warning track, to the wall. It's a grand slam. Howie Kendrick has done it. They're going crazy in the Nationals dugout. Howie Kendrick with a grand slam here in the 10th inning of Game 5. The Nationals 7, the Dodgers 3. Do you believe it?
Sent the Nationals into the LCS for the first time, getting them over that hump of actually winning a series. And yeah, I mean, I think about those calls and those moments a lot, and probably more than I would be if we were in a normal season right now. Because I mean, when you get in this baseball existence, I kind of call it you live in a baseball bubble. You can almost tune out the outside world, and your biggest concern is, well, who are going to get the 3 outs in the 8th inning to get the ball to Sean Doolittle? That 1 year ago today, that was my biggest concern in life, was who was going to get 3 outs in the 8th inning, because the bullpen was such a disaster. And so I miss being able to do that. But yeah, I mean, baseball is one of the first things I think about when I wake up in the morning. It's the last thing I think about before I go to bed. And oftentimes it is reliving. If I see something that reminds me of it, yeah, I think about it a lot. Just sitting here doing this, I've got some memorabilia around that reminds me of it. I've got my scorebook from last season sitting on the table next to me. So I can, any number of things can conjure those memories. And that's the one beauty of winning it last year. The fact that there hasn't been baseball yet this season has allowed us to relive those great moments. We've been doing podcasts on those, kind of looking back on some of those great moments, Charlie Slows and myself. And of course, what's going on this weekend, they're going to unveil the documentary put together by Curly W Productions. And I'm really looking forward to that, because that crew traveled with us the entire way in the postseason, and they had some amazing access to shoot some incredible footage that I'm really looking forward to seeing, some additional interviews that they did with players. And that'll be another chance to relive it leading up to the virtual ring ceremony that will be on Sunday.
The virtual ring, are you getting the ring, Dave? I would assume you do get one, right?
Yeah, we will get a ring. I mean, all the broadcasters associated with the team, but we are not going to get it before the players. The players, they did the hard work. They're going to get the rings first. So I don't know exactly when we will receive our rings, but we will get one, and I'm looking forward to seeing the players get theirs. And that really the sad thing about the championship is when you win a championship, you have so many elements of the celebration, and we got to enjoy the spectacular parade and rally a few days after winning the championship. And then the final step in closure of the celebration of the previous season is unveiling the banner in your home ballpark the next year on opening day and getting your rings. And so far they've been denied that. And obviously the Nationals are going to raise the banner with fans in the ballpark. They've made that clear. That makes all the sense in the world. As far as the rings go, I mean, if you don't know if they're going to be fans in the ballpark in 2020, do you want to make the players wait all the way until the 2021 season to get their rings? So I can understand them getting the rings to the players now, and hopefully that'll be a fun experience for the fans to watch it interactively and hear their comments. I mean, the normal ring ceremony for baseball is it'll be before a game, and they call each player out. You walk out, you get your ring, and then you play a game. So you might see their reaction on camera from a distance, but now you're going to get to hear their reaction. So maybe it'll be a little bit of a different experience for the fans.
It's definitely going to be a different experience for sure. What are you going to do? Are you going to wear your ring daily? You going to wear it in the booth, or you going to mount it somewhere in the house? What's the plans for the ring? This is exciting.
Yeah, I mean, I think I'm going to, at least for the first year or so, I'm going to wear it around as much as possible. I mean, it's a conversation starter. It's a showpiece, and I definitely look forward to wearing it around and getting a chance to have folks ask me about it. So yeah, and I don't know when exactly we'll be getting it, but I look forward to seeing what it looks like.
For you in your lifetime, and I want to walk down Game 5 with you. I want to walk through Game 7 with you, just like everybody else, because your calls were they're so memorable to the fans listening. It was amazing. When you have a reaction like that. Game 5, I got the sense in listening to the call, you pretty quickly knew it was gone. You just let it fly, don't you? It's just raw emotion coming across, and that's what makes it exciting.
Well, I mean, that call is kind of what you live for when you get in this business. I mean, when you think of great moments in baseball history, and I do, you see the highlight and you hear the call with it. And to have your voice associated with a call like that in Nationals history is truly special. And I think at that point when it's happening, you kind of realize that you're making an historic call and you don't want to screw it up. So,
yeah.
I mean, the Kendrick call, as I think back on it, you're still, as much as you want to be a fan and jump up and down and scream and go crazy, you still have your professional broadcaster hat on. And I'm really proud of that call because I think I was able to walk the line between showing genuine emotion, which every Nationals fan watching and listening was feeling at that time, but yet trying to give an accurate description of what happened. The beauty of that call is, there were no outs in the inning. So when Kendrick hit the ball, it was clear they were going to take the lead, because the worst case scenario is that Bellinger makes the catch and it's a sacrifice fly and you still score the go-ahead run. So I gave it the big build-up right away because I knew that the Nationals were going to go ahead at that moment. And then as the call unfolded, I was trying to track Bellinger's movements. And as soon as it became clear that it was going to go over the wall, that's when I really let loose. But then, okay, now I've got to focus on, all right, what's the reaction of the team? Okay, let me describe what the team is doing, celebrating in the dugout. And then you got to get the score in. This is the moment. What's the score? What does this mean in the grand scheme of things? And then after recapping all that, I said, do you believe it? Because we're sitting here and the Nationals had so many heartbreaks in Game 5 scenarios in previous years that a lot of folks were probably saying, man, I don't know if they're ever going to get over the hump. Well, I mean, that moment pretty much made it clear that their dream was going to come true and that was going to be a franchise-changing moment. So, I mean, from start to finish, I was really happy with how it came out. And it's something that hopefully 20 years from now, they'll still be playing and we'll still have the same emotional reaction.
Yeah, I have no doubt about that. It's probably 50, 60, 70 years from now that call will be played again. And then Kendrick Part 2. I mean, you got to do it once, which is off the chart. And then you get to do it again in Game 7. You got to be kidding me. Like, this is crazy.
It's gone. It hits the foul pole, and the Nationals lead. Howie Kendrick has done it again. A slicing 2-run homer off the right field foul pole. Do you believe it, Howie Kendrick? Part 2.
Well, and for it to be the same guy, and it was just, that was such a Nationals moment. I mean, there's nothing going on in that game. They're trailing. They don't have any offense going, and all of a sudden, bang! Rendon hits a home run, then a walk and a home run, and they're in front. And that's the way they did it. They pulled it out late, and for that call, I'm really, really thankful that ball hit the foul pole, because that's one of the tougher calls for a play-by-play guy. That borderline, is it going to be fair or foul? And the worst thing you can do is call that play wrong, to either say it's gone and it's not, or the opposite. And so sometimes you get those tweener balls down the line, and the right field corner from where we sat was pretty much obscured. Now the ball did hit a little bit higher up on the foul pole, but if that ball doesn't hit the foul pole, and let's say it goes around the foul pole fair, then you're waiting. You can't see from that angle with certainty. So you're waiting for the umpire. And sometimes the umpires aren't sure, and they're waiting. But when that ball hit the foul pole, there was no hesitation in the call. You knew it was a home run. And so that allowed me to kind of get in the flow of the call very quickly, rather than having to sit back and wait just to make sure, because you don't want to call it a home run and have it be a foul ball. So the fates aligned for the Nationals, for that ball to hit the foul pole, and for me to be able to call it. And then watching that celebration in the dugout, and of all the dugout dance parties, that was one of my favorites, to see Kendrick go down the dance line and then drive his car with Adam Eaton like he usually did. And there was still a lot of baseball to be played at that point, but that was obviously an historic home run for Howie Part 2.
Can your career, I mean, anything beyond that, I don't know how you're going to ever go through that again. I mean, that's unbelievable. Like, you hit a home run being an announcer, a broadcaster for those two. Like, they don't get any better. So congratulations. And you nailed the calls on them. It'd have been easy to miss that one in Game 7 and not be as genuine as it was. So congratulations for you and to you. Your passion comes across. Were you always this was your childhood dream? How'd you land here?
Oh yeah. I mean, I always say I knew I wanted to do this when I was 10 years old. So I'm one of the very fortunate people outside of maybe, being Howie Kendrick or playing on the field. I mean, this is really what I wanted to do. I mean, I listened and watched to games growing up. And so I knew very early on that broadcasting and specifically baseball, and I followed all sports. I mean, I would have been happy doing the NBA or the NFL or anything like that. But baseball was my number one sport growing up. It was the one sport I played, at least at a decent high school level. And I love telling the story. I mean, I knew you had to know that this is what I wanted to do. When I was playing high school baseball, I was an outfielder. I played left field. And when I was a senior in high school, knowing that I was going to Syracuse University to pursue broadcasting, I'm like, well, I'm gonna broadcast the games I'm playing in. So I'd be sitting there in the outfield broadcasting the game to myself.
So now that you're, do you still check in with some of the players? What are you doing right now?
Well, I mean, Charlie and I have been doing some podcasting work for the Nationals, our Curly W Live from the Booth podcast, which for the most part has been revisiting last season, kind of in-depth, deep dive into some of our stories and memories from what we were thinking, what we were feeling, some behind-the-scenes stories from those moments. From the wild card game, we did a Division Series 1 at LCS and a World Series. So I think those are kind of fun. It's, we do intersperse some of the highlight calls, but we're trying to, kind of give the fans a look back at what we were thinking and feeling at the time. We answer fan questions in those podcasts. And so we're going to, as this goes along, we've got some other theme ideas that we want to tackle and maybe look back at not just the 19 season, but other interesting moments in Nationals history, because they have had a very interesting franchise history, kind of the arc that they, the early years at RFK to the lean years, the early years at Nationals Park, to how they built into kind of a powerhouse, but then knocked on the door, couldn't get over the top until finally getting to where we were in October. So the podcasting has been a part of it. Charlie and I have also been working on an app called Cameo. We've raised money for some different food banks in the DC area, basically with 60 to 90 second shout outs to people. We give happy birthday wishings. We do home run recreations where, whoever we're doing the video for hits the home run instead of Howie Kendrick. So we've raised good money for that. Our proceeds are now going for the Nats for Good Foundation. So we've stayed busy that way. The other thing, I've tried to kind of look at this as when the season starts, I'm going to be ready. So I do a whole lot of preparation, not just on the Nationals players, but the other teams that we play, putting together biographical information. So when they come in the game, I can give you their story as to how they made the major leagues. And so, looking at who the Nationals were going to play, we did the American League West. They were supposed to play the Angels this year and the Astros and the Mariners, and you do the National League team. So I've prepared for those teams. Now, under the new format, it looks like they might play the American League East. So now I've had to prepare for the American League East team. So I did the American League West and the American League East, and I'm like, I've got time, so I might as well just do the American League Central. So I've basically prepared all these bios for all 30 major league teams. So when the season starts, I'll be ready to hit the ground with both feet.
You mentioned the Cameo, so I've got to put you on the spot. Give me a cameo home run call for Jason Martin and People Passion Power. Let's hear it if you can do it. I'd be pumped.
Okay, here we are, top of the 10th inning, bases loaded, 2-2 ball game, Game 5 National League Championship National League Division Series. Joe Kelly on the mound in a tough situation. Martin digs in from the right side. He's been a clutch hitter all season. Here's the set and the one-strike pitch. Swing and a long drive, deep center field. Bellinger going back to the track, to the wall. It is gone. A grand slam for Jason Martin. And the Nationals take a 6-2 lead here in Game 5 of the National League Division Series. They're going crazy in the Nationals dugout. Do you believe it?
I just got chills from that, my friend. Thank you for taking me right down that. I was going to ask you to do a call anyway.
I give you the back crack, too.
In the fact that you put my name in it, my spine's tingling right now. That's amazing, man. Dave, I am so grateful that you came on the show, and I'm really I can't tell you. Those calls will stick in my mind for a very, very long time. I hope MLB gets back to baseball. I look forward to just hearing your calls on summer nights, man. I sure do miss it. But what a year it was. I got to ask one more question, and I know you've gotten this one. We're about to wrap up because I know you're tight on time. But at 19 and 31, did you believe at all they had the shot to make it?
Well, we had the conversation, Charlie and I, after they got swept in New York to fall to 19 and 31, and we went, there are 110 more of these games. We got a lot of work to do. But I will say this, the saving grace that I saw with the team early in that season, they could blow a lead in spectacular fashion, and the bullpen could implode, and the next day they would jump right out to a lead. That team never quit. Davey Martinez never lost the room. And so I had a feeling that they were still going to compete. And it was just a matter of the math didn't look good, but the schedule got a little soft in June. I said, if they can get to 500 by the All-Star break, then they've got a chance to make a run in the second half. They got to 500 before the All-Star break.
Yeah.
They got to 500 before the end of June. So, yeah, it looked bleak at the time, but in hindsight, you kind of live it day to day, and you're, well, how are they going to blow it today? They've got a 2-run lead in the 8th inning. Well, they're going to blow it. But with all that happened, the next day, they came out there and they played hard. So there was no quit. They stayed in the fight, as the cliche turned out to be. So, yeah, the character, you saw the character there even during the dark times. And fortunately, it turned out to be a magical ending. It made the ride that much more fun the way it happened.
Yeah, it's such an amazing story. It really is. And Dave, I am so glad you came on the show. People, passion, power. The wonderful voice of Dave Jageler. Thanks for coming on the show, Dave. I appreciate you, man.
Jason, my pleasure. Hope to be talking to you on the radio real soon.